All right, welcome. My name is Tim Gladhill. I'm the Deputy City Administrator for the City of Ramsey, also function as our Community Development Director. Sean, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, good morning. Sean Sullivan. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Ramsey. Glad to see a lot of you joining us this morning.
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited to see the turnout. Sorry we weren't able to do our traditional fall business networking breakfast. This is not a full replacement for that, but we did see a need to reconnect with our business community, especially during these difficult times. But despite all of that, we do have a lot of exciting updates to share with you. And part of this is just making some connections again as we start to look at 2021 and give you some resources and contacts for some key policy issues that we have here today. We are recording today's webinar, and we will make that available to attendees both here and maybe that weren't able to attend, and you can share with your colleagues and other business owners in the community. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions as well. I know that's a little bit different in this Zoom webinar format, so please feel free to use the Q&A function in Zoom, and Sean and I will do our best to answer the question here today or point you in the right direction to answer that question offline. We know that we won't be able to get to all questions here today, but again, it's all about connecting resources and being able to move forward as well. And so just kind of an overview of what we hope to cover here today. We'll give a very brief update on Highway 10, more about schedule, less about design, but we will give you the contact information with Anoka County if you have some more detailed questions and need some more one-on-one attention to be brought up to speed on where we're at with some very exciting updates on where we are at with Highway 10, as well as the cities of Anoka and Elk River. Sean will provide a few updates in terms of new development in the area. We will also give an overview of what we've done as a community to assist our businesses during the COVID pandemic, as well as some upcoming opportunities that have just been released this week or recently, and then some action at the federal level, give you an update to the best of our ability. And then finally, we want to wrap this up with a bit of celebration of our local businesses. So we've had a successful Business Appreciation Day back this fall, despite the pandemic. We weren't able to have our traditional award ceremony, so we want to spend some time to celebrate our Business of the Year, Panther Precision, and kind of broaden our outreach for celebrating that business. So with that in mind, I am going to jump right into it and give a brief update on Highway 10. So I will note that I am using an excerpt of a presentation that was given to a variety of local businesses yesterday that were more directly impacted on the Highway 10 plan, as well as some one-on-one business meetings that have been occurring over the last week. If you were not able to participate in any of those, fear not, there is an opportunity for follow-up. So at the end of this slide, there's a contact information that if you want to meet with the county staff, city staff, or the county's design engineer, there's still ample time to be brought up to speed, and more importantly, help influence the final design of Highway 10 here in the city of Ramsey. So obviously, I don't need to spend a lot of time on the project purpose. I think we've been talking about this for several years. Certainly, the city did a study over the past couple of years to unify a vision, and we've gone through this quite a bit. We have over 50,000 vehicle trips per day on the corridor, and that is forecasted to increase to almost 75,000 vehicle trips per day by the year 2045. Nearly half of those trips come from outside of Ramsey, traveling through Ramsey. So it's very important that our partners, MnDOT, Anoka County, and Congress even have a role in the solution for US Highway 10 and actually 169. And you'll see how that is played out here in just a second. I think we're all aware of the project need. The intersections of Sunfish and Ramsey are already failing today, especially when trains block intersections. We see that queue back onto the highway. So there's already congestion. We're already over capacity, and that only gets worse. I'll give a brief overview of the Anoka projects beginning in 2022. And if you think about the traffic signal in Anoka by the McDonald's and that backup that occurs, removing the signals at Thurston and Fair Oak, that backup by 2045 is still at the exact same place, even with removal of those signals in Anoka. So the time to act is now and stay ahead of that congestion. So we don't invest in a corridor and still have many of the same congestion issues. So it's also an unsafe corridor, 90 crashes per year, most of those rear end crashes. They're definitely above the norm for traffic engineering and MnDOT standards. And within the last 10 years, there have been 3 fatal crashes. What kind of contributes to this is not only the capacity issues, just within Ramsey alone, there are 73 private direct accesses onto the corridor. So it's very difficult to operate as a freeway status with that amount of individual access points onto the highway corridor. And so this will be very important for us to solve, not only for economic development, but safety in operations and commutes as well. And again, I'm just going to remind people that if you have questions, feel free to pop in at any time with the Q&A function or the chat function. For those that have been working with the design team through Anoka County the past couple weeks, they gave the whole history going back to the late 1990s, early 2000s. I'm going to pick it up for when the city took an active role and really started to push the need for Highway 10 improvements. And that study was completed in 2019, in which case we came up with a locally preferred layout option, which you see on the screen here today. That vision remains the same, in which both Ramsey and Sunfish go up and over Highway 10 and the railroad tracks and are supported by a new frontage road system. Now, the final version will look slightly different than that. The intersection treatments themselves on the interchange are likely to look a little bit different and shift in terms of value engineering, reducing costs, improving functionality. This was a very high level planning study. Anoka County is now the lead agency and really getting into the design aspects of it. So the vision is still the same. We were able to move mountains with our study and prepare it for construction now planned to begin in some degree in the year 2023. So that's only a couple years away, and I'll explain how we got there in just a second. So I want to take a moment just to really celebrate a lot of work over the last 12 months with us and our project partners. And part of this is really breaking news. I'm going to switch my webcam here to talk about the funding. And I want to give kudos to Anoka County for taking the lead on a lot of this. At the beginning of the year, we had about $3.5 million allocated to the project. Now at the end of the year, we are at just shy of $84 million, which is well above halfway there, which really starts to put momentum. The largest funding source is a grant from Congress, the US DOT, in the form of a competitive grant at $40 million. And that sets the stage that we need to have plans completed by 2023. We'll do some preparatory work at the end of 2023 with the lion's share of the work beginning in 2024 and 2045. So that's exciting news. I know we've been talking about Highway 10 and several visions for decades now. And all the project partners agree that this is happening now. It's no longer a pipe dream. It's real, it's coming, and it's coming quicker than what we might think. So I'm going to quick switch back to my normal background. I've been having a little bit too much fun with some of the Zoom technology. Got to have a little bit of fun while we have it in front of us here. So again, talked a little bit about the project schedule. The previous step was the planning step that was led by the city of Ramsey that really brought it to the forefront, working with Anoka County, working with MnDOT, expressing the importance and unifying that vision. Now we are at a step which is called preliminary design. So they're refining that overall vision and getting it into actual detail, actual construction plans, and more importantly, completing the funding study and pieces of that. So that's really defining what we are going to build and a locally preferred alternative at some point in 2021. From there, over the next 2 years, it'll be final design, actual construction plans, right-of-way acquisition with construction slightly beginning in 2023. Again, a majority of that construction occurring in 2024 and 2025. So this is really important because leading up to that, the 2 years prior to our project, not next year, but the year following, there'll be significant projects in the city of Anoka, removing those traffic signals at Fair Oak and Thurston. And again, I just want to note the timing of that. I think that has been well known for some time. The website for more information with the city of Anoka is anokahighway10.com, shown in the bottom right screen there. So a lot of those issues that we see in the city of Anoka are going to start shifting their way to Ramsey. And more importantly, we don't want a major project, gap in time, and then picking up a project again in Ramsey. It's intended to be completely seamless over the next several years. So also, I just want to note in terms of Anoka itself, there are 2 projects that are underway along Highway 10. So there's the Fair Oak Thurston project that is called the Anoka Solution. And at the same time, MnDOT is doing some work on the Rum River Bridge over the Rum River, Highway 10 bridge over the Rum River, and then replacing the Ferry Street interchange as well. So those 2 projects will be happening simultaneously. And then also in the last bonding session, there were some dollars allocated for a bridge over the railroad tracks on Ferry Street, Highway 47. And so there'll be some resurfacing leading up to that. I don't have the exact time frame for the bridge over the railroad, still working through that. So that's a lot of projects going on. And in preparation for that, we know that there's going to be some detouring, informal detouring. Highway 10 will be open to traffic the entire time, perhaps with lane closures, but to help alleviate some of that pressure next year, there'll actually be an improvement project at Bunker and 47 to improve the functionality of that intersection as well. So a lot of great work going through there. And then that momentum continues to our west. So Elk River is picking up at our border and doing a study over the next 2 years, kind of where the city of Ramsey left off. There's an opportunity to comment on that as we speak. And then 169 north of Highway 10 101 in the year 2023, Elk River secured funding from the state to replace their at-grade signalized intersections with interchanges at all of the intersections you see on Highway 169 north of Highway 10. Again, I would point you to Elk River for more specifics on that, or we can talk offline and help you navigate to the right resources to learn more about those projects. Just trying to give the full context of where we are at. So again, here's the project schedule, a lot of design and funding in 2021, finalizing the design in the year 2022, and starting to deliver the project in 2023. Again, this is the Ramsey project at this point. So we have, for the last several years, have said, here's our vision. We are uncertain of timing. We are now very certain of timing. You'll see a whole lot of more regular updates from the city and the county in the coming years and months. So if you're one of those businesses that wants to hear more, how does that impact my business or my property? Ashley Hudson is the key contact for public engagement. She is a consulting planner engineer with Bolton & Menk, the consultant on the project for Anoka County. And then we anticipate a full open house virtual at this point coming in February of next year. We will have that vision refined in a singular layout that'll go through its final comment processes as we walk through final design. So at this point, Sean, I'm going to open it up to you to provide any perspectives, sitting in on some of the conversations from an economic development perspective. Sean, any thoughts from your seat?
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I've been able to sit in on a couple of the meetings, and it's been fantastic. We are really engaging the businesses and making sure that they're putting a lot of input into this plan. And I think it's I think they're very appreciative to it, and the plans and layouts that they are seeing in the tweaks that we worked with them. I would say over a year ago even. They're actually seeing them come to fruition now and feel that they've been a part of this process. From an economic development perspective, I understand if businesses know what to expect, they usually can get to where they need to get to. It's that uncertainty with businesses that really is just you just can't plan for that. So that's the feeling I'm getting, and the feedback that we're getting from businesses is that they are very appreciative to be involved in this process, and we'll continue to have them very involved all the way to the end.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean. And I'll turn it over to you to walk through your portion of the morning.
Tim, before we get to that section, do we want to maybe open it up for some questions on Highway 10 right now, or do we want to save that to the end?
Yeah, so I'm not seeing any hands up or questions, so I'd say roll through and we can do Q&A at the end if there are any questions.
Sounds good.
So just waiting for Sean to pull up his slide deck, and we'll get right back to it in a second.
How are we doing?
You're good to go.
Awesome. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'd love to say it's happy to see you, but we're seeing you virtually, and hopefully next year we'll be doing this thing in person, along with a lot of the other events that the EDA puts in place, such as the Business Expo and, of course, the Business Appreciation Day. So I have a couple of items that I want to go through, kind of a brief economic development update, and then kind of how we've been reacting and being proactive when it comes to COVID, and bringing assistance to businesses. And finally, as Tim alluded to earlier, kind of a summary of the Business Appreciation Day this year, which we are so happy to be able to have. So I know you've seen a slide similar to this in the past for those that have attended the network meeting, but it's good to kind of see where we've been and where we're going. So wanted to let you know that our population is continuing to grow even through this pandemic, and we are approaching 28,000 people within the city. Medium household income also continues to grow. It's up about 3,000 from last year, so that's up to 95,014, and that's really good for us when it comes to trying to market for commercial type businesses. That disposable income, that median income is a big criteria for them selecting sites. So once we are through this pandemic and retail and restaurants start moving again, these numbers only help us. As far as, businesses within the community, there's some good news and some bad news relating to this. And I think, some of it is related to COVID, and particularly the restaurant and hospitality industry. Our businesses are up. So for year over year, we're up about 17 businesses from last year, but our employment has remained relatively flat. We've been trending up and growing. And it's also, worth noting that within these jobs that are listed here, we don't have a company like Delta Mod Tech who has brought 160 new jobs to Ramsey. Those are not reflected in this number. So, again, I imagine that when we are through this pandemic and companies are bringing staff back on board that maybe they laid off or put on furlough, we should have our numbers continue to trend properly. And last but not least, we are a manufacturing hub. I saw on the participant list, we have a lot of manufacturers here. Thanks for being here this morning. And kudos to you. We have 32% of our employees in Ramsey that are employed by manufacturing businesses, and that's fantastic. We know we really value what you do, and the wages that you pay are living wages. So again, thank you so much for that. All right, let's move on to the core. So over the past few years, we've certainly put a focus on that area, and the city has many pieces of property in there that are currently under purchase agreement. So we still continue to see additional investment and interest in businesses, but as mentioned before, with COVID, the retail has slowed down, but it has not completely stopped. Things worth noting, last time we were together at this meeting, we were starting a number of projects. Well, those projects now, those projects now are mostly completed. So we have 15,000 square foot of retail space called West Armstrong Retail. That shell is now complete. And if you haven't been in the area, you're going to see a very large dynamic display billboard, which helps them market to Highway 10 traffic. And they are now leasing. Sapphire Apartments, which is a 117 unit market rate apartment, is now open for leasing. And I know we touched on this last meeting, but Affinity at Ramsey, which is a 174 unit, 55 plus amenity rich housing project, is now leasing. So with that, we're bringing those additional rooftops online, which is only going to help us moving forward. And with that, I'm going to let Tim step in here for a second and give a brief residential update.
Yeah, so thank you, Sean. I just wanted to take a quick 30, 60 seconds to talk about our single family residential market. Obviously, that has been a predominance of our development over the years and will continue to be so as such. Two major projects that I want the group to be aware of. The first is the area near just to the east of the Links at North Fork Golf Course. There are three separate projects in construction or planning or review stages. Capstone having the largest project of Riverstone South, a new project directly abutting the golf course, and a project next year by potentially Lennar. In total, all three projects are about 400 to 500 new detached single-family homes. And despite the pandemic, we are still seeing record-setting years for that. We'll peel back those assumptions in future years to see what was the driver of that. But again, we thought that maybe with the pandemic, things would slow down in that development market, but they did not. And then the second project, also by Capstone, now on the south side of 10, just east of Bowers Drive, looking to do a 250 unit project, 250 single family lots detached again. The city and developer has spent the last year planning for that, putting together some broad assumptions and land use planning. And they're going through the actual review stages right now as we speak. There's a chance they might build next year, but it's such a large project that it might actually be a 2022 year project. So a lot of good single family. There's lots of other smaller projects throughout the community, but those are the two that I wanted to highlight for the group. So back to you, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. All right, the next slide that I want to talk about is I mentioned that retail and commercial development during this pandemic for the most part has paused, especially with restaurants, as you can imagine. But we do have three projects that are in the pipeline for core development. All three of these projects involve city purchase agreements, and they're currently entering the site plan processes. So I'll go through them each. The first is a pretty exciting project. It's called the Storyteller Cafe. It's a 12,000 square foot mixed use project. It's cafe and small retail on the first floor and apartments above. Project we located right between New Horizons Childcare and Sunwood Village Apartments on Sunwood Drive. Next project, which is pretty exciting, we have an existing Ramsey business, Gigi's Salon and Spa. They have outgrown the space that they're currently in and have worked to create their own building. So they're looking to do 6,000 square feet, just located kind of just to the east of Coburn's and to the west of New Horizons Childcare. And again, that project I know is set up to be in Planning Commission at the January meeting. And on the retail front, we have O'Reilly's Auto Parts. So I've been working with a developer and corporate on this particular project. And that project we estimate will be 7,000 square feet. And that will be located just to the west of Casey's on Sunwood Drive. All of these projects are anticipated to break ground in 2021. And, right now, we certainly are trying to keep really close tabs with our developers and builders and such. And they seem to be moving forward in a manner that I guess gives us a lot of confidence moving forward. So we'll stick with that and move on to the industrial area within the city. So we have many industrial parks within the city. We have the industrial park that was done back in the 90s with Connexus Business Park 95, Sunfish Lake Business Park, and Ramsey's done a fantastic job in recruiting and retaining businesses. So we've really become a manufacturing hub, and I'm sure a lot of you as business owners find that you're doing a lot of work with your neighbors, which is fantastic to see. So just to give a little history on Bunker Lake Industrial Park, that's our newest park, and it's just west of Armstrong Boulevard, north of Highway 10. And Bunker Lake Business Park is a public-private partnership, and it was done to encourage additional commercial and industrial investment to the city. So with this park, we have new city infrastructure installed with fiber connectivity, which has proved to be very helpful in attracting businesses. The park is 125 acres in total, and there's 68 acres that still remain for development. To date, 4 buildings totaling 407,000 square feet have been completed, either fully leased or fully occupied. They're home to businesses such as Adrenaline Sports, Northwoods Machine, 401 Manufacturing, and our newest addition, Delta Mod Tech. Just want to highlight Delta Mod Tech. It's a very exciting project for the city. And last we spoke, they were just beginning their project. Now they've completed it. This business completed the project here August 13th of 2020. And with it, they've brought 160 new jobs to Ramsey. It was about a $15 million project. So that investment in the community is just fantastic. And like some other property that we have in the core, the city has worked hard to obtain shovel-ready certification for the sites, which has really proved to be a good investment based on the development that has occurred. Again, right now, we also have a purchase agreement that's out there for 43 acres within the park, and they are working through, working with a developer to see if they can put a project together, and we are certainly going to be right there with them, trying to bring that project to the finish line. So with that, I did put a question slide here. So if there are some questions in relation to the information that I just shared, please use the Q&A box and we potentially can get to those.
Yep, Sean, so far no questions. So let's kind of roll through the next couple slides and we'll see if any come up and we'll wrap up at the end too.
Sounds good. All right, the next portion of the update is an update on what's kind of transpired as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic and what may lie ahead. So as we all know, the impacts of COVID arrived in March of 2020. The governor of Minnesota enacted a number of emergency executive orders, the first order being Executive Order 20-01, declaring a peacetime emergency due to the COVID pandemic. So that started the process to kind of see how the state was going to work to deal with this COVID pandemic. Probably the most impactful one that went into effect was Executive Order 20-04, and that went into effect on March 17, 2020, which provided for temporary closure of bars, restaurants, and other places of public accommodation. This really negatively impacted restaurants, bars, gyms, indoor recreation facilities, salons, and other local Ramsey businesses. Many changes to existing orders and new orders have subsequently been issued, modifying how businesses in Minnesota can operate and to encourage workers to work from home if possible. City of Ramsey understands this is very difficult for many businesses, and we're trying to do what we can to help. We're working with our local partners such as area chambers and Anoka County to help Ramsey businesses. So COVID-19 assistance kind of at the state and federal level. So as I mentioned before, the city of Ramsey and Anoka County have really worked together locally to get Ramsey businesses connected to the programs that best suit their needs. So the first programs that rolled out, and some of you may have certainly subscribed to these, included the Payroll Protection Program, also known as PPP, the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, EIDL, and expanded unemployment benefits. City staff and area banks did a great job connecting with businesses to help them navigate through these programs. Once the federal CARES Act money was distributed to state, county, and local governments, more grant and loan programs were created to get much needed money out to Ramsey businesses. There's been some positive information, and again, so just pause at that. I know at times, you hear the pun working at the speed of government. And I think at first it was really tough to really understand, what this program was, what can it do for my business? And again, the city's role in this was to try and help businesses and get them the information they needed so that they weren't applying for programs that maybe weren't going to help them or they didn't qualify for, and that so that they could focus on just dealing with the changes to their businesses. There has been some really good positive information relating to COVID lately with the 2 effective vaccines that appear to be coming out. That's good news to kind of seeing the end of this. And there's also some discussion at the federal level for another COVID-19 relief stimulus package to help struggling Americans. There appears to be some light at the end of the tunnel. So in particular, I wanted to kind of highlight, what the city of Ramsey and the EDA worked on to kind of do things at a local level to help our businesses. So right away, when this happened, and To be honest, I don't think any of us could have planned for this. So we basically did the best we could. And what we thought the first thing we should do is get a resource guide on the city website. And that included grant and loan opportunities, links to state and federal programs, links to executive orders and other business resources. We continually emailed links out for that for updates. And we really felt strongly that our businesses needed to have access to that information. The county certainly did this as well, and so did the state. And we all really worked together to kind of get that message out to everybody. And again, right in the first month, and you're going to see a lot of focus on restaurants and places of public accommodation, and that's who was really impacted the most initially by this COVID-19 and the business closures. So with that, we created what's called a restaurant guide. And we started that in April 2020, and we're constantly updating. It has information for all Ramsey restaurants and options for the type of service they're providing. So it's kind of a list of restaurants. It'll list whether they're doing takeout, delivery, in-person, Grubhub, deliveries, whatever it is. And we're constantly doing that. We've also worked with restaurants and businesses to allow for temporary outdoor seating arrangements that really proved to be helpful to mitigate some of the restrictions of the executive orders. So that was kind of our initial thing, is just to get information out there, connect people with the right programs, and do what we can for businesses that were being impacted by COVID. Then what we did is we rolled out a 2-phase business assistance program. So phase 1 of that assistance program essentially was fee waivers. And what that included were liquor license renewals. For 9 bars and restaurants, we waived that fee for them. And we also provided free advertising for select businesses in the Ramsey resident. And 23 businesses took advantage of that in the August issue. And again, these programs that we're going through were funded through a combination of EDA funds and CARES Act funding. Phase 2 of the program, and again, I alluded to it earlier, was, once the cities received the CARES Act funds, we were able to put in place a city loan program. And, we got a lot of feedback from the EDA, worked with the county to put a program that we thought would really be focused to help small businesses in the city of Ramsey. So with that, we put together a program that had grants up to $10,000. And when it was all said and done, we were able to issue 30 grants totaling $295,905 to Ramsey businesses. It should be noted that we coordinated very closely with Anoka County. So what we were able to do as businesses that potentially, or that did qualify for our program, they were also able to apply for the Anoka County program, and were able to secure funds from both programs, which was fantastic. And again, getting that CARES money out to businesses in a timely manner was very important. It also should be noted that the city program did not include nonprofits, but the county program did. So any nonprofit that contacted us, we referred them to the county, and if they qualified, they were served. So some recent updates here, and this is again kind of that light at the end of the tunnel here. But on December 16th, 2020, which was Wednesday, Governor Walz signed into law a $216 million small business relief package, and it includes really 3 pots of money, but 2 of which that I'm going to talk about. The first is $88 million in direct payment to bars and restaurants. That particular program is being run by the state of Minnesota. Businesses need to do nothing. They will contact you and they will send you checks. But if there is additional information on that, we'll certainly put it up on our web resources page. The second piece is an additional $114.8 million in relief for Minnesota businesses that actually will be administered at the county level. So we'll work with Jaquel Hyder at Anoka County once they get their program in place, and we'll make sure we get that information out to you once that program is developed. And to put it in perspective, we're looking at probably $5 to $6 million of additional funds that will be available for either, I think it's small business grants again. But again, I can't stress enough, that program will be run by the county, but we'll do everything we can as a city to make sure that you get that information. And with that, that concludes this portion of the update. Are there any questions?
Hey, Sean, we have one question from the audience about the funds upcoming. And perhaps we don't know yet, but the question is, will the additional funds be available for nonprofits at this point?
Thanks for that. It's my understanding, I was reading through the the legislation and the summary guide of that. And that second 114 million that I referred to, I believe nonprofits were mentioned in that. So I do think that nonprofits will have the ability to access that. So it'll be a question on potentially how much money Anoka County decides they want to allocate to nonprofits versus for-profits. But I'm sure once Jaquel is complete with, well, at least once she has identified with the parameters of that program, we'll share it with you. But I think the simple answer is yes, nonprofits will be eligible. It's just a question how much money.
Thank you, Sean. I don't see any other questions coming up, so maybe we move on to the next round.
All right. This is an event that I'm very fond of, and I think it's a great opportunity for businesses, city officials to get together and network. And again, it's just a fantastic event. This year it was held August 17th, and it was at Rumberville Hills Golf Club. As you can imagine, and for those of you that have participated in the past, this year was a difficult year for planning for this event. We needed to find a way to plan the event in a safe manner, and we worked extremely hard to keep it on the calendar. So with this year, due to the requirements, or the governor executive orders, we weren't really allowed to have an in-person dinner and an award ceremony due to the indoor seating requirements and the gatherings of people in one place. So we needed to get really creative to have a successful event. So first off, we made the event a tea time event versus a traditional shotgun start. Provided box lunches, and what we did is we bought $20 gift cards from all of our RAMSEY restaurants and gave them out to each participant. So although they weren't able to have dinner at the event as a group, each member of the team was given a gift card. So if they wanted to, they could go out to that local restaurant and go out to dinner together. We also recorded the Business of the Year recognition and provided everybody with a jump drive, the contact information for participants, pictures, and results of the event. This year, 26 teams participated, which was a little bit down than our normal number, but that's certainly understandable due to the COVID environment. The feedback of the restructured event that we received from the participants was very positive. However, most of the businesses expressed a return to the traditional format next year, if possible. And with that, I'm going to have a couple of videos that I'm going to run for you. But again, I do want to say 2020 was such a challenging year for everybody due to the COVID pandemic, and certainly is going to roll into 2021. But the modified version of the Business Appreciation Day event on the 17th, really is there to recognize RAMSEY businesses for the wonderful work they do. And I think we worked really hard to do that. So here's a short video highlighting the fun shared by all. We'll try that again.
You got to go to the next slide, Sean.
Nope. Just a moment. And again, as the slide says here, thank you so much, Ramsey businesses, and thank you for doing what you do. And last but not least, I want to play another short video here, and this is recognition of Panther Precision Machine for being Business of the Year.
John Letourneau here, Mayor of City of Ramsey. So excited today to be out at Panther Precision. We are doing some fun things. We're recognizing this organization for being a great member of our community. I'm with Chris and I'm with Tom. These are the leaders. These are the folks that are making it all happen for the last 20-some years here in the City of Ramsey. So it is my honor today to share with you guys the 2020 Manufacturer or Business of the Year Award for the City of Ramsey. I'll just hand it off to you, Chris.
Thank you.
And then what I'd like to do also is read to you what is on this plaque and exactly what it is that goes into the recognition that we have for our Business of the Year annually. So again, this is dated for May 27th from 2020. It's to Mr. Tom Olson and Mr. Chris Miller through the Panther Precision Machine. And it's to your entire organization. So Tom and Chris, on behalf of the City of Ramsey and the Economic Development Authority, we'd like to congratulate Panther Precision Machine for being selected as the City of Ramsey 2020 Business of the Year.
Myself and Tom are involved every day in the business. We see things through all the way through the process of starting with material to manufacturing of the part to customer relations. We're involved every day, and I think that means a lot to our customers, and I think that's what brings them back to us.
And we take our deliveries very serious. We tell them it's going to be done in 6 weeks. That's, my gosh, that's what's going to happen one way or another.
Shout out to our employees that have been with us through. Some of them actually have been here pretty close since day one,
1 year.
which is real impressive in today's world, I would say, that people stick around for that long. And I think that's a shout out to them and to us that we have loyalty back and forth. So.
Well, thank you again for attending this morning. One thing I do want to talk about to kind of close this Business of the Year award is, the Business of the Year is based on, businesses that are nominated by the EDA and that are frankly brought to staff to bring to the EDA. And the winner is selected based on the following criteria. It's longevity in the City of Ramsey, job creation and retention, how the business positively impacts the community, and innovation. And the EDA has been giving this award out since 1989. So again, certainly excited we were able to hold the Business Appreciation Day event, and glad that we could recognize Panther Precision this year. And with that, that concludes our presentation. Here's some contact information for Tim and myself, and we certainly can stick around for questions.
Thank you, Sean. If you want to stop sharing screen here. Again, just want to say thank you to everyone for attending here today. Trying to find a different format to reach out to you. Went a little bit longer than we expected, but again, all the great information here. And like I said in the chat, some of this was just coming out as we were finishing presentation. So we have a lot more to update positive wise than what we did when we first put this together. A couple questions that went on the chat function or the Q&A function that I just want to make sure I got on record here as part of our video. We had a question about the frontage road in front of Global Glove, which used to be Dahlheimer Beverages Facility and Lano Equipment, and the frontage road alignment there. We don't have the final plans, but we have a singular alternative for that frontage road. Again, let's talk offline, and we can put you in touch with the county team to do a deeper dive to see what that actually means for these properties. Our city administrator, Kurt Ulrich, had a question or wanted us to update in terms of Highway 10 planning. MnDOT, Anoka County, Hennepin County, cities of Ramsey and Dayton and surrounding communities are actually doing a river study. I know we've talked about that one for even longer than Highway 10, but a river crossing connecting the cities of Ramsey and Dayton and trying to at least preserve some right of way. That improvement will likely be sometime after the Highway 10 projects if it does occur, but there was dollars allocated to MnDOT to study that project as well. So I want to make sure that that's on the radar. In 2021, there's likely to be open houses on that as well, and your opportunity to provide your comment in support or opposition of that future project as well. The city has a plan for that and the alignment, and we just need to make sure we coordinate with Dayton. And then finally, there was a question about the construction staging for Highway 10. And just to clarify, the Anoka projects start in 2022, two-year construction period. Those are essentially a singular project. The RAMSEY project is a separate project, Sunfish and RAMSEY Boulevard, together as one project beginning in 2023, a little bit more or less 2024 and 2025. So that's kind of where we are at. And then Kurt, I had moved you over to panelist. If you wanted to say any parting words as well, you could unmute or camera. And just for full disclosure, I kind of put him on the spot here, so I understand if he's not there. Kurt, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Tim, Sean. Great presentation this morning. We are so grateful as a community to have the businesses and nonprofits and just good organizations throughout the community that help us be a better community. And we recognize the importance of our local restaurants and other businesses that provide a strong commercial base. And so we're very thankful for that and are here to help wherever we can. And both Tim and Sean give 100% towards that effort. So thanks for joining us this morning.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. I'm not seeing any other questions come through. Sean had shared our contact information, so the conversation continues. This is an opportunity to bring us together. Don't hesitate to call with questions. Have a happy holidays, and we'll see you in 2021. Thank you.